I welcome you to the session on infrastructure project management in public-private partnership. What, why, and how. I am Professor Jitesh Thakkar, Dean Academics and Professor Logistics and Supply Chain Management at Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya, India's first university in transportation and logistics sector. Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya is a central university sponsored by the Ministry of Railways, Government of India. I am an ex-professor IIT Kharagpur and contributed in the domain of logistics, project management, and supply chain science. I would like to introduce you to the channel. The name of the channel is Professor Dr. Jitesh Thakkar, and it has currently two playlists: faculty and student development, logistics, supply chain, and infrastructure projects. This channel shares the intellectual content. You can scan the QR code shown on the right side to explore the intellectual content for faculty, student, and industry professionals. About this playlist, excellence in logistics, supply chain management, and infrastructure projects, if we look at our ecosystem, then in today's highly competitive business landscape, organizations that excel in logistics, supply chain, infrastructure projects, they are very well positioned to harness the benefits of competitive advantage. Efficient logistics and supply chain management plays a very vital and critical role in this regard. Infrastructure projects are highly vital for economic growth, social development, and national security. And this really creates the essential services like transportation, energy, communication, enabling businesses to operate efficiently and serve the nation or the citizen comfortably. Delays or failures in any mega scale infrastructure projects have very severe consequences for the nation's development. So typically this playlist explores the issues in logistics, supply chain, infrastructure project for the benefit of manufacturing and service sector both. To introduce you about Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya, my university, GSV, it is a central university created in 2022 by the Act of Parliament, and GSV is established by Ministry of Railways, Government of India, with a very unique mandate to contribute in the entire transport sector and logistics, including rail, road, water, aviation, ports, and shipping across all three domains: technology, that is infrastructure, management, that is services, and policy, that is regulations and reform. University offers multidisciplinary teaching at both undergraduate and postgraduate level, PhD, research work, executive training, skilling, and upskilling programs. It follows a demand-driven curriculum to meet the 21st century industry requirements and aspirations of the country, India. High quality faculty with global exposure and leveraging the state-of-the-art infrastructure of Ministry of Railways Centralized Training Institute really sets the pitch for the growth of this university. GSV is propelling the nation towards a new era of interconnectedness and sustainable development through innovations and best practices in transportation and logistics sector. The university is led by innovation-led, industry-driven vision, and it has a mission to be based in the world, futuristic education and research, effective collaboration with industry and various stakeholders, imbibe and internalize professional work ethics and culture to foster learning paradigm for a developed India. University offers the courses for both regular students and working professionals. It offers the BTech programs with civil engineering in specialization in railway engineering, BTech in electronics and communications, similarly BTech in mechanical with specialization in rail engineering, BTech in electrical BTech in Artificial Intelligence, Data Science, with specialization in transportation and logistics sector, BTech in Aviation Engineering, MBA in Logistics and Supply Chain Management, MBA in Ports and Shipping Logistics. On the other hand, university offers the programs for the working professionals in a hybrid mode, like MTech in Intelligent Transport System, MTech in Railway Engineering, MTech in Bridge and Tunnel Engineering, MTech in Roads and Highway Engineering, MTech in Logistics and Supply Chain, MBA in Logistics and Supply Chain Management, MBA in Metro Rail Management, MBA Multimodal Transportation, MBA Aviations and Operations Management, PhD in Engineering and Management with a special focus on transportation and logistics sector. This video exchanges the views on infrastructure, project management, and public-private partnership, what, why, and how. My contribution in the domain of project management includes a textbook on project management, strategic and operational planning, published by Springer as a part of their series Management and Industrial Engineering. The book covers all the dimensions of the project management with a treatment on quantitative dimensions as well as cases and qualitative dimension. So the various chapters I have posted here. The first chapter begins with the project complexity and scope. The second chapter is on project organization. Then third chapter talks about project selection and appraisal. Fourth chapter is project planning and representation. Fifth chapter is project scheduling. Sixth is project scheduling with exact distribution method, EDP, and chance constraint programming and simulation. So we have to manage the risk in the within the uncertainty of the project, and that is where these methods are extremely useful. Project scheduling with theory of constraint and critical change project management, that is chapter 7. Chapter 8 talks about project time cost trade-off. It demonstrates the applications of the heuristic, a project resource allocation with the application to the heuristic, project monitoring and control, earned value analysis concept, project risk control and management, talks about both internal risk and external risk and risk monitoring mechanism, project procurement and contracts management. So what are the various issues and phases in project procurement management? How do you balance the contractor risk with the different types of contracts, popular tools and techniques in project procurement management, and make or buy decision. Chapter 13 talks about project quality management. How do you appreciate the quality? Typically, you have the TCP relationship, time, cost, performance. And within the trade-off this TCP relationship, you need to manage or execute your project. This particular chapter 13 talks about the TQM implementation, the quality definition, and the Deming's principle with its relevance to the project management. Chapter 14 talks about human resource issues in the project management, personnel management, and how do you keep the employee motivated and match them with their profile. Chapter 15 talks about the project communication management. And finally, chapter 16 talks about the project closure and termination. This book has a unique feature. It covers all the dimensions and the subject areas, knowledge areas as depicted by PMBOK, the internationally recognized body, project management body of knowledge. So integration management, which talks about the project integration part and how we combine and unify the various elements. So developing the project charter, project management plan, and typically the chapter 4, chapter 10, chapter 16 addresses the integration management. Then the scope management, it is about the scope, managing the scope of the project, how we can complete the project in time, and what will be included in the project scope and what will not be. So plan scope management, collect requirements, define scope, WBS, validate scope, control scope. Chapter 2 and 3 of my book deals with this. Schedule management, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, and chapter 7 of my book deals with plan schedule management, define activities, sequence activities, develop schedule, and control schedule. If you look at the fourth area of PMBOK, then it is the cost management. It is about plan cost management, estimate cost, determine budget, cost control. Chapter 8 of my books typically addresses this area. Quality management is addressed by chapter 13. Resource management is addressed by chapter 9. Communications management is addressed by chapter 15. Risk management, typically planning, identifying, performing the analysis of the risk and then plan risk and then mitigate the risk, monitor the risk is addressed by chapter 11. Procurement management is one of the very critical area. Plan procurement management, conduct procurement, control procurement. It is addressed by chapter 12. And stakeholders management typically is addressed by the chapter 14 of my book. So this video exchanges the views on infrastructure project management and public-private partnership, PPP, what, why, and how. Three important questions we will try to address. So let us look at why infrastructure projects are so crucial and critical for the country. So the first is economic growth. You need to provide a sound ecosystem for internal businesses, indigenous businesses to grow, as well as to attract the foreign direct investment. And also, in turn, it generates the employment, runs your economy, enhances your gross domestic product. So that is the economic growth. You need the infrastructure development. The second is social development. So typically, when you create the infrastructure, hospitals, schools, the various community facilities, it basically enhances the quality of life of the people and it provides access to essential services like clean water, sanitation, healthcare, and education. The third important area, because of which the infrastructure projects are highly crucial, is efficient resource utilization. So effective project management ensures that resources including finance, materials, labor are used efficiently, minimizing the waste and maximizing the value. And this is something where large-scale infrastructure projects, your roadways, highways, your waterways, ports, and all other aviation sector, it is extremely important to add value to your supply chain management. Risk mitigation. Your infrastructure projects are mega scale, highly complex, and it involves various types of risk, and the cost escalation or scope escalation is quite paramount, and they have the environmental impacts. So project management techniques help to identify, access, and mitigate the risk, ensuring the project success. Then sustainable development is only possible by managing the mega large-scale infrastructure projects effectively. So this can have significant environmental impact, and project management practices that incorporate sustainability principles help to minimize this impact. For example, you are constructing a metro, and then metro is crossing through the entire city, and it can have a lot of environmental impact for the citizens. Public safety, yes, infrastructure projects such as bridges, dams, transportation system must be designed and constructed to ensure public safety. And project management plays a crucial role. Long-term planning, so long-term investment and proper project management allows for the correct planning for executing the long-term, large-scale mega infrastructure projects. And putting together, we can appreciate that why infrastructure projects are highly crucial. So infrastructure project management is essential for ensuring that infrastructure projects are delivered on time within the budget and to the required quality standard as conceived at the stage of design as expected by the client, and ultimately contributing to the well-being of the society, economy, growth of the economy, and the nation and citizens. So going deeper, let us take a deep dive. Why large-scale infrastructure projects are complex? So typically large-scale infrastructure projects are inherently complex because of the confluence of the factors that interact and amplify each other. So number one is extensive scope and scale. It has a vast physical dimension. Geographical areas, suppose you talk about the roadways, highways, or aviation kind of projects or ports and shipping, massive amount of material, labor, and equipments are needed. So you can think about the transcontinental railways, massive dams, extensive highway network, and so on. It has a long timeline, And it goes through a lot of uncertainty, economic conditions, technology, political landscapes. The government may change and the projects may be at all. Number two, multiple stakeholders, they have the diverse interests. So you have the investors, contractor, local communities, environmental groups, regulatory bodies, and they all have different sorts of interest. Managing this diverse expectation is a key challenge. Complex coordination, effective communication and coordination among numerous stakeholders is really a tough task for managing the mega scale projects. Financial complexity, it requires a huge capital investment and many times you have to borrow the fund from the other country. So this project requires substantial financial resources involving complex financing structure, long-term debt, and accurate cost estimation and financial management are highly crucial to avoid the cost overruns. Economic volatility, changes in the interest rate, inflation, market condition, they really put pressure on executing the mega scale infrastructure projects. Technical challenges, advanced engineering. So frequently there are changes in the technological landscape, cutting edge engineering, and you need to get adapted to the newer version of technology to execute your projects well. Ensuring technical feasibility and safety is paramount. There can be many unforeseen conditions like environmental conditions can be unpredictable, leading to unexpected challenges during construction. Even you look at a couple of examples where during the creation of tunnels, the life of many was at stake and really they had to do the evacuation operation to save the life and execute the project. Regulatory and environmental factors. So infrastructure projects are subject to numerous environmental and regulatory requirements. There may be requirement from the Ministry of Forestry, Ministry of Environment, and so on. And this many times create a major hurdle. Risk and uncertainty. There are many unpredictable events, and many a times the project which started maybe in 1995, it may take 10 years or 15 years to complete. And political instability contributes significantly to the completion of this mega, large scale, long time infrastructure projects. So putting together combination of vast scale, diverse stakeholders, financial complexity, technical challenges, regulatory hurdles, and inherent risks makes large scale infrastructure projects exceptionally complex to manage. Let us look at the case of Delhi Metro Corporation DMRC project, where we can appreciate some of the components of a large-scale infrastructure project and the complexity involved. So if you look at the scale and scope, the DMRC aimed to develop a vast urban network in one of the world's most dense and populated city, that is Delhi. It involved complex underground and elevated construction, crossing diverse terrains and the existing infrastructure. The sheer scale of projects spanning hundreds of kilometers and numerous phases and created significant logistics challenges. Land acquisition, yes, acquiring the land typically in the dense populated urban area like Delhi was a major challenge. Land disputes, legal challenges, resettlement of the affected communities caused delays and increased cost. And this is a common and complex problem in India wherever you execute the large-scale infrastructure projects. Coordination and stakeholder management. So DMRC involved numerous stakeholders, including government agencies, contractors, and international consultants, and the communication, setting the communication among them was really a complex task. And on the other end, managing the impact on daily life because it is crossing the city, your project is crossing the city, and impact on the daily life of the millions of Delhi residents during construction was also a major challenge. There were technical challenges involved, constructing underground tunnels and elevated viaducts in a congested urban environment required advanced engineering and construction techniques dealing with varying soil conditions, underground utilities, need to import specialized machineries and parts was adding huge complexity to the project. Financial management, DMRC required substantial financial investment involving a mix of government funding, loans, international aid. Managing the project finance and controlling cost was a great challenge. cost overrun that are common in Indian infrastructure projects needed to be avoided, and environmental consideration because it was crossing through the dense populated area. It was a significant task how to execute the operations and control the pollution during the construction and operation. So a couple of key takeaways we can have from the DMRC, Delhi Metro Rail Corporation project. Project demonstrated the challenge of managing large-scale infrastructure project in India's complex urban environment. Land acquisition, stakeholder coordination, technical complexities, and financial management that require careful attention were some of the critical areas to handle. Then, despite these challenges, DMRC's eventual success highlights the importance of effective project management, strong leadership, and a commitment to quality. So DMRC projects has demonstrated a good leadership and the commitment to quality, and this shows the long-term planning and phased implementation of such large-scale projects. Let us look at the infrastructure project management important considerations. Number one, it requires comprehensive planning, including financial, technical, and environmental impact assessment. Number two, effective risk management, typically identifying, assessing the risk and creating the contingency plan for better risk mitigation. Number three, rigorous project control and monitoring, adherence to budgets, timelines, quality standards, implementing robust monitoring mechanism. Number four, stakeholder engagement, because there are various stakeholders with diverse interest, government agencies, communities, and private sector. How do you set the communication and say coherence kind of consensus among the stakeholders? Really a great challenge. Definition and purpose, if you look at the public-private partnership, so majority of the infrastructure projects, mega-scale infrastructure projects across the globe are executed using public-private partnership model. So let us try to appreciate the PPP model when we have appreciated the complexity of large-scale infrastructure projects and what are the important considerations in public-private partnership model. So the definition and scope is, it involves collaboration between government entities and private sector for the companies to finance, build, and operate infrastructure projects. The goal is to leverage the private sector expertise, their competitiveness, efficiency, and capital to deliver public services. There are numerous advantages of the PPP model: access to private sector fundings, reducing the burden on public budgets, enhance efficiency and innovation through private sector involvement, risk sharing between public and private partner, that is very important, and long-term sustainability through ongoing maintenance and the operation. So when we talk about the mega-scale infrastructure project, we don't bother only about the creation of the project, but we talk about the life cycle management, life cycle costing, and that is where public-private partnership really matters. So when you look at the PPP model, the critical considerations involves number one, risk allocation. So allocating the risk between public and private partner, you can manage the project well and handle the uncertainties quite in a reasonable manner. The second is contractual framework. So developing robust and transparent contract that outline roles, responsibilities, and performance expectations can help you to set an appropriate mechanism for dispute resolution. The third is regulatory environment, creating a stable and predictable regulatory environment to attract private sector really brings a competitiveness to execute the large-scale infrastructure project. Transparency and accountability, maintaining transparency throughout the PPP process really attracts the private partners to join the hand and execute the mega-scale project that are of the interest of nations and citizens. Financial viability, ensuring the project is financial viable for both public and private partner, not that private parties should suffer or they are not feeling interested in executing the project, or they should fetch the profit on such a high level that the public interest is sacrificed. So typically there are key benefits of executing the large scale infrastructure projects under PPP mode. Number one, it helped to lessen public sector budget constraint. Number two, it promotes innovations and creativity. Number three, consumes less time and improve monitoring. Number four, build cooperative growth via private sector integration. Number five, increase technical and technological cooperation. Number six, provide elastic services and reduce the service cost. Risk sharing with the partner and promote infrastructure and land development. Yes, couple of issues we need to address or define under three broader domains. Number one, financial sustainability. So the issue or the points to ensure is public liability can be met. Say your tariffs are affordable. If you are constructing the highway, then your tariffs are affordable. Toll taxes are affordable. Then reallocation rate of return for the private entity, and certainly the fixed payment to the deliverables. On the other end, clear performance and the service standard, what will be done, who will do, and how this will be executed, what will be the quality standard. And the third domain is roles, responsibility, and rights for the each party, ensure the typically legal, financial, and economic dimensions when you are executing the PPP projects. So why PPP projects is critical for India? Number one, it bridges the infrastructural gap, which I already mentioned. It is extremely essential for the economic development, employment generation, and it has a significant impact on reducing the logistics cost, improving the gross domestic product. So typically, the PPPs offer crucial mechanism to bridge the significant infrastructure gap in the sector like transportation, energy, urban development, where government resources alone cannot really bring the transformation. Number two, defining economic growth. So it's a fundamental requisite, and it is only through effective management and PPP we can enhance the connectivity, reduce logistics cost, and improve the economic growth. Number three, attractive private investment. So PPPs motivate the private sector to invest, leveraging their expertise and financial resources, and this really enhances the competitiveness of the nation altogether. Improving public service delivery. PPP can enhance the quality and efficiency of public service like transport, water supply, sanitation, risk sharing and efficiency. PPP offers a model where private party and say government, consignor and consignee can share the risk, and the projects under uncertainty can be executed well. Sustainable development. PPPs can be structured to include aspects of sustainable development, allowing inclusion for green technology and practices, and certainly urban infrastructure. I gave you the example of Delhi Metro Rail Corporation can really benefit if the projects are executed under PPP mode. There are various examples of a success PPP model in India. Number one, Delhi International Airport, Indira Gandhi International Airport. Typically, it is the PPP project in India, and it has the world-class facility. Mumbai Metro, it is executed under PPP model, and to develop the urban rail network. And typically, again, like Delhi, in the most populated city, dense city, national highway projects. India has implemented numerous PPPs in the development of its national highway network under build, operate, transfer models. And this has really helped the country to expand its road network. Redevelopment of railway stations. Yes, many railway stations are upgraded and they are just having the state-of-the-art facility like airports. And these are also executed under the PPP model. Similarly, port modernization is one of the very important area to enhance your cross-border, say, logistics competitiveness, and many port projects are executed under PPP, and the infrastructure modernization took place. If we look at the global perspective and the successful projects, then the Channel Tunnel, which is Eurotunnel in the UK, and France is the prime example of large-scale infrastructure projects executed through PPP. Australian infrastructure PPP, so Majority of the infrastructure in Australia utilizes PPP model. Let it be, say, toll roads or bridges or tunnel, they all are constructed through PPP. Some of the examples could be New South Wales and Victoria have used PPP models. Healthcare, PPPs in Canada and the UK are some of the benchmark examples. So they provide the quality healthcare services, and all this infrastructure is created through PPP model. Renewable energy PPP. So today there is a large, say, interest and the huge focus on the renewable energy. And because the private sector has a niche competence in creating such kind of executing the projects, the PPP model has across the globe benefited hugely, significantly in executing the renewable energy projects under reducing the carbon emissions. So when we talk about public-private partnership, there are certain cautions and considerations. Number one is risk allocation. As I mentioned, there has to be appropriate risk apportion between public and the private party, government and the private party, and both should feel motivated to execute the project, and the dispute should be minimized to the extent. Second is contractual complexity. So typically it involves PPP large and long-term, highly complex operations, and clear and comprehensive contracts plays a very critical role in defining the roles, responsibilities. So many a times when we talk about the life cycle costing, suppose I have laid down the metro, then there is an issue related to the maintenance, and if the responsibilities are not well defined, then even after completion of the project, when it is under operation, it will suffer. Transparency and accountability is the most important dimension and paramount when public and private parties they join the hand to execute the project under PPP mode. So to prevent corruption and ensure value for money, the transparency and accountability are vital component. Long-term commitment, so which can be affected by changes in government policy, flexibility and adaptability is utmost important. Regulatory environment, stakeholder management, value for money, and government capacity to handle, oversee the PPP projects are some of the most important cautions and considerations when we are executing the large-scale, mega-scale projects under public-private partnership model. So to summarize, successful PPPs require careful planning, rigorous analysis, and effective collaboration between the public and private sector. Before we conclude, I want to emphasize on public, that is consignor, versus private, that is consignee, transfer of responsibility and risk. This dimension is extremely important when you are dealing with the PPP model and executing the large scale project. So when I say consignor, that is the public sector, represents the government or public authority that initiates and consigns the responsibility of a public project or service to the private sector. When I say consignee, that is the private sector, represents the private company or maybe the consortium that receives the responsibility to develop, finance, operate, and maintain public project or service. And it is extremely important to define the roles, responsibilities, risk sharing among these two, between these two parties. So let's see, the risk allocation is the fundamental challenge, and it is utmost important how to determine appropriate allocation of risk between public and private partner. You cannot just pass major chunk of risk on the private party, otherwise they would be unwilling to execute the projects under the PPP mode. Similarly, contractual clarity, vague performance standard, unclear responsibilities, and inadequate dispute resolution mechanism will certainly lead to the conflict between consignor and the consignee. Information asymmetry, unequal bargaining power. So maybe the government party is dominating or private party is dominating. There is unequal bargaining power, misunderstanding about project feasibility, and difficulties in accurately assessing the cost and risk. Many a times leads to lot of issues and failures of the infrastructure mega project under PPP model. Monitoring and oversight. So lack of government capacity to monitor the complex project, you require very high level of competence and the digital platform. So this is something where government of India has set up the digital platform called PM Gati Shakti platform to monitor the mega scale project using more than 2000 data layers and the satellite images and with the use of geographical information system and remote sensing. So we are now much in a better position to handle the mega projects and execute and monitor the mega projects with greater degree of clarity in the digital platform. So potential for corruption and collusion needs to be prevented and difficulties in measuring performance. The another caution is changes and renegotiations. So disagreement over how to handle changes in regulations, technology, or economic conditions, or if there is a change in government, how these issues can be handled needs to be very well defined as a part of PPP contract. And then public interest versus private profit, ensuring that essential services remain affordable and accessible. Suppose you put some let us say very high end and costly facility at airport, and then you charge the citizens for that costly facility, then that PPP model project may not be affordable to the citizens, and this kind of say PPP model is absolutely not feasible. Preventing the private sector from prioritizing profit over quality or social responsibility, just I gave you the example. So I hope this session would have helped you to understand the issues involved in mega large scale infrastructure projects, uncertainties associated, and how public private partnership can really help to execute this project by bringing the competitiveness of the private parties and also the stake of the government to see that nation can grow, economy can grow, and citizens they really receive the various services in time and at the affordable prices. So Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya, exactly it is contributing in this line. It is the university created to support the mega scale PM Gati Shakti infrastructure project. And as a part of that, we are responsible to create best in class human resource for transportation and logistics sector, cutting across all modes of transport, rail, road, water, aviation, ports, and shipping. And we have the goal to meet the nation's aspiration to reduce its logistics cost from 14% to 8 to 9%. Transportation sector is the growth engine for India, which contributes roughly 6.3% of the GDP of India. And at Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya, we are trying to contribute in all the three dimensions: infrastructure, that is technology, then management, that is services, and number three, policy, that is regulation. In line with our vision, innovation-led industry-driven university, Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya has collaborated with various leading industries such as Airbus, Nippon Koi, Jacob, Siemens, Plaza India, Railway, and others to see that we can significantly contribute to the ecosystem of large-scale infrastructure projects creation, and typically the sector of transportation and logistics can be benefited at large. So thank you for your interest in learning the various dimensions which are touching the faculty, student, industry professionals, and we will keep exploring more issues through this platform for the benefit of higher education as well as the industry professionals across the globe. Thank you very much.